you went under the wheels.
Perfected.
Welcome to Under the Wheels. I'm Matthew.
And I'm Gabe.
And in today's episode, we look at mystery. I don't have a good intro. Today's episode, we're talking about Glass Onion. I'm not even going to pretend.
In this episode, we will bamboozle you with layers and layers of pointless complexity when the answer has been in plain sight all along.
Ooh. And if only we could look through the glass onion to see the center. That's the other thing I did is I rewatched Knives Out just to make sure I was like ready for this movie. And I was.
You're ready for our favorite Foghorn Leghorn impersonator?
I was. And by the time we get this out, people will be able to watch it on Netflix.
I
know. I always think it's funny that the person who produces all of Rian Johnson's movies' name is Ram Bergman. I don't know why. It's like such a violent sounding name, like Ram Bergman. Right. So Glass Onion, do you want to give us a brief synopsis of... Oh, God. You know what? Give us like the briefest of synopses. We'll go into our ratings, and then we'll probably just talk about spoilers because it's like even most of the reviews I read were like, oh, but spoiler. And it's like, okay, well, in order to justify the 2.5 hour run, or the 2+ hour runtime, you kind of have to get into spoilers. So, Gabe.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's a hard movie not to spoil because it's... It like I feel like the opening, like the first half hour was like you're already into spoilers at that point.
Yeah. That would be the biggest difference to me between Knives Out and this movie, because obviously there's going to be a lot of comparisons. Even though, aside from the main character, it feels like it's kind of difficult to find comparisons as far as like the structure and the feel of the movie. Even though a lot of the themes are kind of similar. But different.
Yeah. Well, it does have a very similar set of inversions.
Yeah.
Not like Tenet inversions, but...
Benoit Blanc talking backwards.
All of a sudden, crap. All of a sudden, Hercule Poirot shows up. Who's the actor?
Kenneth Branagh.
Kenneth Branagh, thank you.
Mustache.
Kenneth Branagh shows up, but he's got a Russian accent for some reason.
My accent is supposed to be Belgian. Like Jean Valjean? No, not Valjean. Belgian. Oh, Belgian. Got it. Oh, man. Kenneth Branagh. Are you glad you brought that ham with you today?
I know.
It's that, because those movies are so, like, dramatic that the only comedy is from Kenneth Branagh being like a really hammy actor. It's like movies aren't. Anyway.
All right, Glass Onion. So
yes,
Miles Braun is every archetype that we now have of like a tech billionaire rolled into one. And he lives on an island, and in the middle of COVID, he invites a bunch of his friends to the island for a party. And during the party, they're going to play a game where they have to solve his murder, which he's just going to be playing dead. And then Benoit Blanc shows up to the island, invited but uninvited, because Miles never sent him an invitation.
mystery number one: who sent the invite?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Benoit Blanc hangs out around the island. All the other people there are a collection of ciphers for various political views and people. So you have... Okay, let's go through them real quick. So, you have Miles Braun, who's basically Elon Musk, but actually kind of charming.
Yes.
Whereas Elon Musk is like... He's like a brick. It's like...
The only thing charming about Elon Musk are his hair plugs.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, Elon Musk doesn't know how to talk. Whereas at least Edward Norton does. But otherwise,
does
they're
he know
basically
how
the
to
same
talk?
person. Yeah. Then there is... there's Dave Bautista, who plays Duke. and he is like, he's like the Liver King. He's like one of those like men's rights / men's health
activist.
like streamers who's like overtly political in the dumbest way possible.
Very, very like strong Second Amendment, but in sort of like a juvenile way.
Well, like everything he does is juvenile,
right? Which is the point.
So it's like it's the whole point. It's like he advocates for stuff without really knowing what it means, and then it's all just kind of a show essentially. He's putting on a show.
Yes.
And then he's got his girlfriend Whiskey, who is blazing hot, and that's about it.
Right. She's the definition of arm candy.
Yeah. And then you got Catherine Hahn as the governor of Connecticut, who is basically like, she plays the character like every sort of violent, exasperated housewife that she's really good at playing. But the character is kind of like it's like a J.D. Vance sort of person, where it's like it's like a maverick type politician who's backed by a shady tech person. In the case of J.D. Vance, he's got vampire blood drinker extraordinaire Peter Thiel bankrolling him. In her case, it's Miles Braun. And then you got the scientist, who's got some cool sounding like Haitian name. I can't remember.
Lionel Toussaint.
Lionel Toussaint. Yeah, that's right.
Hey, no, Hercule Poirot. It is Toussaint, okay? No, I'm just kidding.
Lionel Toussaint, who is the head scientist at Alpha, which is Edward Norton's company. Mm-hmm. And who plays him again? It's like he's like a big actor. I just can't ever remember his name.
I was trying to remember his name through most of the movie, but because you've never seen Hamilton, you probably don't remember Leslie Odom Jr.'s name.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's Leslie Odom Jr.
Yeah.
Wasn't he in The Five Bloods or something?
Was he? Was that him?
Or no, he was in I think he was in One Night in Miami.
He was probably in One Night in Miami. Let's check here. Murder on the Orient Express. He was in Harriet. He was in Hamilton. He was Sam Cooke in One Night in Miami.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
That's how I know him. Let's see, then who else? Oh yeah, we have Kate. Is it Kate Moss?
Hudson?
Kate Hudson. Thank you. Kate Hudson plays a fashion lady named like Birdie or something.
Birdie J.
And she's basically Roseanne.
I would say no, she's not. She's like everyone's like stereotype of the Real Housewives.
That's true. She's like a Real Housewife character. She's got her assistant, whose name I don't remember.
Jessica Henwick.
But it's Jessica Henwick.
She doesn't have a name. She's just Jessica.
It's just Jessica Henwick. Yeah, her assistant Jessica Henwick, who's also there on the island, and is so. Kate Hudson's character Birdie J is like cartoonishly. All these characters are cartoonish, but she is like cartoonishly stupid. That's her whole thing. She's like, she makes Patrick Starr look like
mildly
reasonably intelligent. Like, I swear to God, she has a line along the lines of, "It may be stupid, but it's also dumb." Okay, at some point in the movie.
No, yeah, that's true. But I love that it's like, it's so dumb, it's brilliant. No, it's just dumb. I feel like that's a
and
very
then her
Ryan
assistant,
Jessica
Henwick, is like, is basically her wrangler, just trying to keep her in line, and is very practically minded.
Yep.
Am I missing anybody?
You
I know
are.
Oh yeah, I'm missing Janelle Monáe.
Yes.
So she plays
Andy.
I almost said Angie. She plays Andy, who co-founded Alpha with Miles Braun and then was cut out of the company for reasons that we'll get into later. So this colorful menagerie of people are on this island.
You are forgetting one other person. You're forgetting Noah
the
Sagan.
bum who lives in the dude's basement.
Do you know why he was even in the movie?
No.
Because Noah Sagan is in every single one of Rian Johnson's movies.
Oh,
Just like Joseph Gordon-Levitt is also in every single one of Ryan
I
Johnson's
know.
movies,
Yeah, he's
including this one.
Joseph Gordon. There's a lot of cameos as well. Like,
Yes. Holy cow. Which
holy
we'll
fuck,
get into in
it's
the
a lot of very
spoilers.
topical cameos too. Like Benoit Blanc is like during COVID lockdown, he's having a mental breakdown in his bathtub while playing Among Us. I almost said Among Us.
Among Us was very topical, yeah.
While playing Among Us with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Natasha Lyonne, and Stephen Sondheim.
And Angela Lansbury.
And Angela
Second
Lansbury.
Murder, She Wrote reference in 2 different Benoit Blanc movies.
Yeah, you have Ethan Hawke as the Mr. Guy. He's Mr. Mysterious Man who just shows up and then disappears. And you got Joseph Gordon-Levitt as a robot that goes dong every hour.
We have to save one for spoilers.
I don't even know. Like, there's so many fucking cameos in this movie. But anyway, you have this collection of people on the island. One of them, who's not Joseph Gordon-Levitt, does get murdered, and then it's like, oh, we got what's going on? And yeah, it becomes a whodunit.
Very good. What did you think of Glass Onion?
I thought it was a lot of fun. I'd give it like a low shiny.
Yeah, I was like at that level too. I think it right now it's kind of hovering as one of my it's hovering as one of my favorite movies of the year so far, just because it's so like laid back, entertaining, enjoyable. Even some of the sort of already dated references I kind of liked, especially with all the mask stuff and Kate Hudson wearing a mask that has like no cloth on it. It's just like,
oh god,
lines
I know.
and string.
It's
I
just,
thought that was so funny.
it's so topical and so full of like, I don't know, like person who's on Twitter too much references.
Just ironic because Twitter's it's slowly dying.
I mean, Twitter's gone tits up, but Ryan Johnson is probably still getting in fights with people who don't like The Last Jedi on it. Fortunately, there's none of him saying like people who didn't like The Last Jedi are bad in this
Right.
movie, but it's 10 times as topical as Knives Out.
Yeah.
The nice thing though is all the topical shit is just for humor.
Right.
It's
It's like he
just to
learned
be
his
silly.
lesson. He learned his lesson from Knives Out about the whole like immigrants are coming over and stealing our baby. It's like, okay, all right, Ryan, let's pull back. Yeah, I thought it was really good. I thought it was clever. I even love the way that they played with the conventions of the genre, because obviously Knives
Again.
Out played with conventions of the genre. They did this, but this time it was different. It was a different approach. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So, shall we get into spoilers and stuff?
No, there's a couple other things I want to say
Okay.
before we get into spoilers.
Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So yeah, the topical shit, like again, it works. It does partially work against the movie, but like if you were, at home, working from home, like I was for, March through the next March, 2020 to 2021, essentially. So you're just constantly bombarded with like online bullshit, and it's hard to go out and see people and like have any kind of to touch grass in any way and like correct your sense of reality.
Right.
You'll pick up on a lot of the shit that's in the movie, and it is pretty funny. There's like I said, all the characters are total cartoons. Like they're all Looney Tunes level personalities, which makes it fun.
Right.
Like it's just everyone is so silly and so out there. Like even the more serious characters, like Catherine Hahn's character, is still like a cartoonish version of the like wife who's losing her mind.
But it's just accelerated because it's like a governor wife who is losing her mind.
A
with her
governor wine
constituents.
mom who's losing her mind. Yeah. Oh, and the other thing is it's breezy, it's fun, it doesn't take itself too seriously. Even though its messaging is still pretty on the nose, it's just kind of like the messaging in Knives Out is very serious. It's like, look at this. Whereas the messaging in this movie, it's almost like a stand-up routine where it's like, hey, you guys ever notice that those razor blade holders in airplane bathrooms? Is anyone really shaving in there? It's like that. It's like that kind of messaging about more serious stuff, but it's done in that way. And then I really like the sort of technical aspects of it. I mean, it looks great. It's set on this really nice Greek island, and everything looks very shiny and cool. And Rian Johnson's camera does a lot of work because every frame is stuffed with information, and then he'll revisit earlier frames and squeeze more information into them. He does a really good job of always having like foreground action, background action at the same time, encouraging you to look around all corners of every shot and see like, oh, did you see this thing? Did you spot this thing? Even if it doesn't mean anything, or even if it's just a little Easter egg or a joke or something. I like that overstuffed quality of the visuals.
Agreed. On that note, it's funny because, again, I rewatched Knives Out, and you know how you said about Henry Thomas, where it's like, you could tell he's really trying to like show that he can act. Like he's trying really hard to prove to like do simple acting things. When I watch a lot of Rian Johnson's movies, I love his camera work, but his camera work is very like show-offy.
It's extremely showy, yeah.
This is actually what I would say is probably his most restrained movie. It's like, instead of it looking like, look at this camera work, look at how clever we are setting it up and setting up the frame and all this stuff. In this movie, it's almost like, hey, look at how effortlessly the camera is doing all of these really like impressive shots. You know, it's not as showy, which is ironic because the movie is all about people who are all about being really big and showing off. Like
the movie's about ostentatiousness and sort of showing you something spectacular that has nothing behind it, which we'll get into in a bit with the whole glass onion metaphor. It does feel very effortless, I think, especially because he doesn't move the camera as crazily as he does in some other stuff. It's a lot more just like standard shots, standard moves, but what he puts in the frame is really has a lot of layers to it. There's a lot going on, and it's not like a lot going on in that it's like just empty noise. It's like if you pay attention and look at things, you will be rewarded for your attention.
Yeah,
whether you just notice something funny or
early on. Yeah,
exactly. Like whether you just notice something funny or you can kind of pick up on a twist maybe before everyone else does, or just little details that come back later, or just some cool little detail about the world.
Did you feel like the editing was unfair in the movie?
How so? Define unfair. That's such a weird fucking.
I know. Okay, so
adjective.
let's say we're in this movie and we're trying to figure out some of the intricacies of what is happening.
You're trying to see the center through the layers.
Correct. Or I'm trying to fill the donut hole with the donut hole.
Oh my god! It's Jesus fucking Christ. He's got his. He's doing his same metaphors again.
No, this isn't. No, it's food metaphor, but different result. So there's a very particular scene where something is happening, and when you view it originally, they withhold specific detailed information.
Yes.
And in that time, it's like kind of unfair. What I mean by unfair is like they withhold that information, but we're processing it in real time. The camera is just showing us something different than what's actually happening. But there's another time where they show us information and then they cut out all of the information that we would normally want to observe and just jump us to the end. And that's what I mean by, do you think it's being unfair?
I didn't think so. I mean,
Okay.
It's... So, kind of what I mentioned earlier is that, he shows you something once, a moment, a shot and then revisits it later with a little more time or a little more distance, and more information appears. More important information appears. And I think the way in which it was done, all of the later reveals, I think, mirror the earlier pieces in the right way, where it's like, okay, small spoiler. Duke is watching
This
something.
is the one I was thinking of.
So Duke's watching something,
Yes.
and he's hiding in the bushes to watch it. He hears a rustling, turns around, looks behind him, doesn't see anything, and then looks back forward. And then behind him, Benoit Blanc kind of peers out from behind a palm tree. Later, they revisit that same point where it's Benoit Blanc and another person, each behind two palm trees, peering at Dave Bautista. Mm-hmm. The other person runs off, and when they step, they make a rustling noise, which causes Dave Bautista to turn around. When that is initially shown, we are only seeing Dave Bautista from a tight angle to where Benoit Blanc and the other character wouldn't have been visible. And then when we revisit it, it's from a much wider shot. It's basically from the last shot of the first sequence where you see everything. And that way you see the other character too. So I thought that was fair. I thought that was a fair edit. I don't think it was unfair, to use your terminology.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that it was like right on the line of cheating, but I think he gave just enough information, because I kind of enjoyed it. It's like, oh, how do the puzzles fit together? Well, we don't. It's like when I talk about plot twists and how an effective plot twist is not necessarily that the plot twist itself is good. It's how it's set up.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of one of the reasons why Knives Out worked, because like the plot twist isn't that great, but the way that it's kind of layered on into the movie works really well. And I would say that it's kind of the same with this, like maybe an exception of, like I said, I think it pushes the line between fair amount of information given and unfair a little bit too well. Like, where on one end, for example, the Arthur Conan Doyle Sherlock Holmes books, they're like, what's this clue? And you don't have any information as to who the killer is, because up until the halfway point in whatever the Scarlet Letter or whatever, not the Scarlet Letter, whatever, the first book that he did, where it's like
A Study in Scarlet,
like the actual murderer is someone you don't know because you didn't understand the backstory of the Mormon church until this moment right at the end of the story. That would be cheating. Whereas with Agatha Christie, she has like these little details that she puts throughout the book. So if you're paying attention, you can guess the murderer. So anyway, just a long way to say, like, I think Rian Johnson kind of skirted the line very closely there.
Whodunits are kind of like time travel stories. There's always cheating. It's just a question of how much.
Right. Well, I mean, it's only cheating if you go back and you rewatch it and you're like, well, wait, none of this made sense. Like The Prestige, for example. If you go back and rewatch The Prestige, every single detail is in the right spot. That it's like, oh, okay. If you're paying attention, you can catch it. Or Shutter Island. Shutter Island, every little detail is in the right spot, that if you're paying attention, then you could probably be like, okay, yeah, I could have guessed that that's what was going on. Yeah. That's what I have to say about that. Speaking of actors, I like the cast overall. The only thing I'll say is I feel like it was a poor use of your Leslie Odom Jr. I felt like they didn't really give him that much to do, probably because they had just too many characters in the movie.
Yeah.
As per Rian Johnson usual, he had fun subverting a lot of people's expectations on things. I think you know who I'm talking about, right?
I don't know.
We'll start with whiskey. That was the one that I thought was the most fun. I guess this goes into a bit of a spoiler, so we'll just
I guess
start
full
spoiling.
spoilers from here on out.
We'll start with like the mildest of spoilers, where Whiskey's actually like a fairly intelligent person who's like, yeah, I understand the social political climate of everything that's going on, and while I do kind of understand where Duke is coming from, blah blah. I thought that was hilarious. I was like, oh my god, that's great. That's very Twitch in 2022 right now. Oh, man.
It's a good thing I'm not on Twitch. I feel like that place is just a cesspool.
It can be. Well, because they have a lot of like what they, like the hot girls who are actually really intelligent, but they wear skimpy clothing just because they know it gets views, like those kinds of things. It's like, And again, I don't watch those channels, but there's a lot of like crossover between certain other channels that I watch on Twitch that have that, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's odd to say the least. But it's funny because she's actually like decently informed, if not perfectly well informed. So I thought it was good for Madeline Klein to be able to stretch her toes. I have no idea who this actress is, so I hope she had fun making the movie.
Interesting choice of words there, Matthew.
At what part? Because I feel like that entire
stretch her toes.
Anyway,
Very poor choice of words.
very poor. What was just to kind of get this out of the way, what was your favorite cameo?
Oh, man. I can't even remember all the cameos.
All right, let me give you a couple. So we've got Ethan Hawke, obviously. We've got Hugh Grant.
Oh, God, that's right. That was such a good one. Like, it wasn't even that good. It was just like, holy fuck, that's Hugh Grant.
Because I had read about that, because there was a lot of talk like, yes, Benoit Blanc, he's like the subtle queer guy, and you'll be amazed to find out who his live-in partner is. And I had heard Ethan Hawke was in it. I was like, is it going to be Ethan Hawke? Is it going to be another surprise? Yeah, Hugh Grant's cameo was fun. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, of course, as the hourly dong. There was, as you said before, Sondheim, Lansbury, Leone, and Abdul-Jabbar.
Mm-hmm.
There was the, I guess there was the puzzles, and Yo-Yo Ma was involved in helping solve one of them.
Yep.
There was Jake Tapper, who made an appearance for some reason. Serena Williams.
That guy.
And then Jared Leto and Jeremy Renner.
Well, there's also like cameos by mention, right?
I was gonna say my favorite cameo by mention is my favorite cameo in the movie.
Gillian Flynn?
No.
Who?
You hear that dong? I got it composed by Philip Glass. I was
Oh,
like,
yeah, that's right. That was funny.
who's making a Philip Glass joke? I was the only person in the entire theater who thought that was funny.
I think my
like-
favorite cameo is probably also related to the dong. It's Joseph Gordon-Levitt as the dong itself.
If you know that it's him, you could totally hear it too. That's the best part. It's like, oh yeah, because he has a very distinct voice. My other favorite was Jeremy Renner's face. Like
The hot sauce.
Yeah. I was wondering because like right when they show that scene, so the structure of the story is, well, you know what the structure is, but when they
It's like
show
a glass
this,
onion.
it's like I guess so, yeah. But when they showed that scene originally and Benoit Blanc has the red eyes, I'm like, did someone forget to like wet his eyes or something? Like, why are they so red? It's like, okay, I guess we know now. So yeah, Joseph Gordon-Levitt was your favorite cameo there.
Yep. And Ethan Hawke. I liked his cameo.
His was a lot of fun. He just shoots the thing into their mouth and they start you'll be fine.
Shoots,
after a
yeah, it's
minute.
like some disinfectant so they don't have to wear a mask. And he's like, you're good. It's like, is this some sort of... You're good. You're good.
So do you want to talk about the performances or the layering of the Onion story, or do you want to go in a completely different
Let's
direction?
talk about the glass onion.
All right, let's do it.
So, Glass Onion is a song by the Beatles that is about basically how a lot of people read a lot of meaning into the Beatles lyrics. And Glass Onion is their way of saying, don't. The lyrics mean exactly what they say, even if they sound silly. And that's what this movie is. So the Glass Onion, which Benoit Blanc sort of talks about several times in the movie, is, like it looks really complicated. It looks like it has all these layers, but you can see right through it. The center is in plain sight. And that's how the movie is. That's how the villain is. That's how everything is in this. So the plot of the movie really doesn't matter because it's all just needless, pointless convolutions when the answer is right there in front of you the whole time. In the same sense, the villain puts on all these layers of, convolution to manage their appearance and how they come off to people and things like that. But who they are is plainly obvious from the word go.
Actually, that's the same with like all of the characters.
Yeah, it's true to a degree, I think.
Yeah. Obviously, with the main villain, it's God. I want to watch the movie again. All right. Obviously, with the main villain, it's the most. And it's also funny because the whole place takes place on a giant, like you have a metaphorical location of the Glass Onion as well. Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess let's just spoil it.
Yes.
So, Edward Norton's the killer, obviously.
But okay, so Edward Norton's the killer.
But like, no. Let me just say, obviously he's the killer. Like, he's the evil billionaire, so of course he's the killer. But like, there's all these layers of convolution to kind of misdirect you. But in the end, it's a Glass Onion. He's totally the killer. Who else is it going to be? And then he himself is a Glass Onion. Like, he curates an identity with his money. Like, he has Gillian Flynn write their dinner party game. Mm-hmm. He has all these other people build shit for him. He has Lionel actually make the things that make his tech company work. And so on and so on and so on. And at the core of it, he's just this big dumb idiot. Like certain other tech billionaires out there who have fake engineering degrees and pay other people to actually make stuff while pretending to be super smart. So he himself is a Glass Onion. Like, he's just a big dummy, which is plain to see from the word go because he just says stupid things all the time. And also, like, has no original ideas, so he just steals everything or buys everything, including his ideas for murder. Like, all his murder plans are ripped from shit people said or shit he read or just like really dumb obvious ways of killing people. But the real spoiler is Andy, Janelle Monáe's character, is actually dead at the beginning of the movie. And her twin sister, who's an Alabama hillbilly, also played by Janelle Monáe, comes to Benoit Blanc before this all happens and says, look, my sister, Andy, who founded this company with Miles Braun, is dead. I think she's been murdered, and I think that Miles did it. And Benoit's like, all right, well, I'll help you investigate this. So her sister, Andy's sister, whose name I don't remember. Helen gets Andy's invitation to this island party. And then she gives that invitation to Benoit Blanc, and they both show up. So it's the answer to the mystery. Who invited Benoit? It was Helen/fake Andy. And they together, much like Benoit and Ana de Armas in Knives Out, they together scavenge the island, try to find clues and figure out, okay, who's responsible for all this, yada, 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 yada. And again, a bunch of like convoluted sleuthing and clue finding and theorizing. And it all comes, and in the end, it was just Miles the whole time because, of course, who else is it gonna be? In the process of all this, Miles tries to kill Helen, but does not succeed. He does successfully kill Duke.
And the reason he kills Duke is because Duke is the only person who knew that Miles killed.
He's the only one who
Andy.
could place Miles at the scene of Andy's murder.
Yeah.
And then, God, what else? So yeah, and then there's all this other stuff about Clear. So Miles falls in love with this compound called Clear, which is like a hydrogen-based power source. The problem is it's really unstable and basically turns whatever it's powering into the Hindenburg. So Andy threatens to resign from their company if he continues to pursue it. He goes through a lawsuit, which he basically, does a lot of nefarious bullshit to force her out of the company. Her countersuit is based on the fact that the original idea for their company was hers and not his. She finds the proof of that, which he kills her for, and then steals it. But during the trial, where she and Miles are suing each other for control of the company, all of their friends, Catherine Hahn, Lionel Toussaint, Duke, and
Kate Hudson,
Birdie J, they all lie and testify on Miles' behalf that it was all his idea, and they basically throw Andy under the bus for no apparent reason. Because it's like, well, if she was the rich one, she could still help them be parasites. But I don't know. Whatever.
I think it's a character thing where like they understand that if they like Edward Norton's one good thing is that he's good at stealing ideas. And so he probably got it, like he was probably able to manipulate all of them into thinking that the only recourse they have is to go with him. Otherwise he will destroy them. Kind of like an empty threat, if you will. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, he is also the whole thing is also about manipulation and about like hearing what you want to hear and seeing what you want to see. Like Edward Norton does that a lot, where he will try and control people's subtle perception of events. Like when he kills Duke is allergic to pineapple, so he kills Duke by pouring pineapple juice in his drink.
In Edward Norton pours pineapple juice in Edward Norton's drink.
No, yeah. So he pours pineapple juice in his own drink, gets Duke to drink it. And
Duke that's how I knew Duke was going to die and Edward Norton was going to be the killer.
Yeah. So Duke dies mysteriously, and he's got Edward Norton's glass, and Edward Norton's like, "Oh no, he must have taken my glass by mistake. Someone's trying to kill me." When later on, Benoit Blanc says, like, did he take your glass by mistake, or did you hand him your glass? And then it's sort of like, everyone remembers, like, oh yeah, he did just kind of like put his glass right in front of Duke. So it's like he does a lot of that, where he subtly manipulates people's perception of things to favor him.
Agreed. Yeah. And so he's got that under, like, that's the one thing that he's really good at, and he uses it throughout the movie to manipulate people. But the one person he never really could get to was Andy, who was also pretending to be someone she wasn't, because she's from Alabama and she was supposed to have that really like cartoony accent that Janelle Monáe has.
She's supposed to have Benoit Blanc's accent.
But like the Alabama version of it.
Yeah.
Like if you see like a country girl and they're from the South, it's that accent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, go on. I wasn't sure if you were going to go forward with that.
Oh no, I kind of lost track of where that was going. So
okay. It's funny because if you pay it, like when we talk about manipulations, if you've been paying attention to any of the marketing material for the movie, it also pulls a manipulation on you, because when you're first introduced to Helen in the beginning of the movie, she gets these boxes. So what Miles Braun, aka Edward Norton, does is he'll send these boxes to his 5 friends, and they're all friends because they went to a bar called the Glass Onion, and they were all sort of on the very bottom rung of what they wanted to do with their lives. Andy wanted to, revolutionize computers.
Do some vague tech thing.
She wanted to be tech. She wanted to be tech startup. Catherine Hahn had just lost a local election. Dave Bautista was, I don't know. He got his YouTube channel shut down. I don't know. Who are the other? Oh, Leslie Odom Jr. No one was fronting his science stuff, and Kate Hudson's character was like on the outs with modeling because she was too old, I guess, because that's how modeling works. So then they all kind of band together, and they all piggyback off of Janelle Monáe and Edward Norton's money. But Janelle Monáe put on this fake character. She called it like fancy talk or rich speak, which
rich
bitch. And it's like this, fake sophisticated sounding, whatever Ohio accent, because I guess all news broadcasters come from Ohio, as we've discussed multiple times on this podcast. So when you're first introduced to her, you're like, oh, who is she? Now, while everyone else solves these invitation puzzles that Edward Norton sends out, and that's where a lot of like a good amount of the cameos come in, is these people living their everyday life and using clever, fun editing techniques to show them all solving problems, including like this Dave Bautista's old mom, who's just able to solve every single one of the puzzles super easily. It cuts to Janelle Monáe, and she just destroys the box. And then we finally, like a half an hour into the movie, get to finally see Benoit Blanc in a bath with an ascot on, because why not? But that's like your first introduction, so you know that Janelle Monáe's character is like, ooh, she's like cold, she's probably like a cold person out for revenge. And that's only confirmed as they get to the island. And the only actual information we have on Andy is based off of Helen's portrayal of Andy, which is also kind of like a trick in and of itself. It's like kind of making fun of us, like, oh, see, you thought you were looking at Andy, but it's just Helen, and we actually have never met Helen because she's been dead for a year or whatever, or she's been dead for a couple of weeks. I forgot where I was going with that. And that's another manipulation, is like there's a Benoit Blanc is in the bath, there's a ring on the doorbell, and the next thing you know, he's showing up to go to this Greek island with all of these other influencing type people, influencers, if you will, who were already invited. And as they say in Sherlock Holmes, both the game is afoot. So both literally and figuratively, because they play a lot of games on the island, and also because of the manipulation. What is kind of funny about it, two things. One, the idea for Helen to dress up as Andy was Benoit Blanc's idea. And he was like, no, that's way too dangerous. We cannot do that, because we need to make sure that Benoit Blanc is seen as the good guy, especially with what happens directly before that information is revealed. So the way that the story is set up, I think, like the way that they layer the glass onion, oh God, I think is really good. The second thing is oh my God, there was something else about Benoit Blanc that was important about the games. And wow, I completely, I guess it probably was along the lines of like how Edward Norton set up this big whodunit murder mystery thing, and Benoit Blanc is like, when does the game begin? It's like, I guess it can begin right now. It's like, okay, I've solved it. Do I get my iPad? I thought that was a fun little thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But like similar to Knives Out, like you said, whereas Janelle Monáe is like the Ana de Armas, the actual main character, the important character to follow, is Janelle Monáe's character. But just like in Knives Out, we see all this through the lens of Benoit Blanc, which I think is funny. It's like he's just an element of the thing. He is not like the main reason we watch it. He is not the main person who solves the case necessarily or does the action that needs to be taken in that way. So that's another thing I was like, I hope the movie remembers that that's the case. And luckily Rian Johnson, he did. So that part was fun.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting that like both movies have Benoit Blanc teaming up with a woman to figure out how she's been wronged, essentially, in some way or the other. And sort of towards the end, Blanc kind of steps out of the picture, and it's the lady who takes over and ends up carrying whatever's going on through its last step, which in this case is blowing up Edward Norton's entire island.
Which, again, planting, payoff, a lot of that stuff. I know we like to kind of make fun of Chekhov's gun, but like I thought it was planted really well. And the part she starts breaking the glass, and the glass kind of looks like the clear, and it's like, oh, that's a nice touch. And the one thing I was wondering though was why they had so many cutaways to Mona Lisa's eyes. I was kind of like, okay, what's the point of this? So Edward Norton's character has bought he helped.
He's renting the Mona Lisa from the Louvre.
Because the Louvre ran into financial troubles during COVID, and he was like, I'll bail you out as long as I have it. And he's put an override over the security settings to make sure the Mona Lisa doesn't burn. And so I thought that was kind of a fun, like, I didn't think anything about it until at the end it happened. I was like, oh, Mona Lisa's going to burn. Like, even if the case is indestructible, like, I'm sure it'll still burn. And then when that happened, I was like, oh, right, that's why they have it in there. That's fun.
See, I thought someone would be shot from behind the Mona Lisa, and they would use the override to make sure the bullet travels all the way through.
I was thinking that the Mona Lisa actually had like a camera installed, and everything that Edward Norton had said when he confesses to the crimes would have been recorded, and but that wasn't the case.
Nope.
What did you think of Janelle Monáe in the movie?
Thought she was good.
Yeah, I did too. I usually am kind of like whatever about her in movies. Like, I just think of that one movie, the Antebellum trailer, where it's like zooming in slowly on her face and she looks like super drugged out and stoned in like a field. And I'm like, that's Janelle Monáe. But in this, I was like, oh, that's right. She's actually a person. She's not like, some like crazy weirdo. I don't know.
I mean, I haven't seen her in a whole lot. It's basically this, Moonlight, and maybe a couple other things. And she's always done a good job.
Yeah.
She's definitely the least cartoonish in this movie, except when she's playing Helen.
Except for her accent.
Her accent is cartoonish. The acting, less so.
Mr. Benoit Blanc.
Mr. Benoit!
Are we going to go to this here glass onion and solve a mystery?
We're going to go to this here glass onion? Well, I say, young lady, I may be just a humble country detective.
They had to like go through and be like, all right, we can't overdo the accent because everyone's going to be expecting like this over the top parody, so we need to pare down the accent a little bit for this movie.
To Daniel Craig or Janelle Monáe?
Daniel Craig, because everyone made the same Foghorn Leghorn jokes about his accent, and like everyone has a Benoit Blanc. Mine is just
they make that joke in the movie Knives Out.
I know. I feel like Chris Evans was just like, this is ridiculous. I need to say something. I will say it in this take, and the take made it in. But like they had to. Daniel Craig and Rian Johnson were like, we got to make sure that we don't go too far. It can't devolve into parody, especially when everyone else is basically a parody. It's weird when everyone else makes Benoit Blanc look normal.
Yeah,
like that's a pretty impressive thing.
When everyone's a parody, no one.
I do declare I am the straight man of this movie, which is ironic because my character is not a straight man. I will say, like, I like the whole cast. I think that Rian Johnson, I think, like, aside from, Steve Yedlin being his cinematographer, the other thing he's really good at is working with actors. Because I haven't heard a single person come out and say, like, oh, yeah, working with Rian Johnson's a terrible thing. It's awful. Everyone's like, oh, no, I had fun. Yeah, it was good. We had a good time. I'd work with him again in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Well, you never know. I mean, people say nice things and then they don't.
And then Mark Hamill comes out and he's like, I played as Jake Skywalker.
What?
Yeah. The thing where, like, he's like Mark Hamill got the script and he's like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, this isn't Luke Skywalker.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
someone
He did
else.
not like The Last
I gotta
Jedi.
play,
Good for
I gotta
him.
play as Jake Skywalker.
Honestly.
But he had a good experience overall. He actually was like, yeah, but that might have been Disney's spin, but he's also never come out and said like anything bad about it since then, and he's continued to work with Lucasfilm probably because it's like easy paycheck.
It's his meal ticket.
Are you saying you want me to dress up in my old Luke Skywalker outfit, shave off my beard, and sit with Baby Yoda? Yes, we're not going to use any of the footage, Mark, but you can. I'm done. I'm doing it. Where's my green lightsaber? Mark, you don't need give me the green lightsaber. Because like for all of the Luke Skywalker stuff he does for Mandalorian and things like that, like they actually have him come in and they have like an oversized Luke Skywalker outfit so he can get his gut in there. And don't hate me, Mark Hamill. I love you.
I wouldn't know about Star Wars.
That's true. Apparently Andor's pretty good.
I wouldn't know.
It's dead to me. It's dead to me. I say.
I don't pay attention to Star Wars anymore.
See, the only Star Wars you get is through me, and I'm telling you, I haven't watched Andor yet. Anyway.
The only Star Wars I get is from Lego Star Wars.
So do you have anything else you want to say about the movie? Because I have another thing I kind of want to talk about.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So obviously it's been compared a lot to Knives Out.
I wonder why.
It's weird because everyone's like, oh, I think Knives Out is better, or that's a lot of the things that I've heard. But I feel like even though they have a lot of thematic similarities, they're both a little bit too different for me to like say one is better than the other.
I enjoyed Glass Onion more.
Really?
I had more fun.
I did have, I think I had more fun with Glass Onion.
Yeah, I had more fun with Glass Onion. I do actually think the movies are very similar, to where they're quite easily comparable, especially because one is a sequel to the other. So, that's...
I call it
There's
a
no better
sidequel.
point of comparison than that.
I call it a sidequel. It's not like a direct. Well, I guess it is a direct sequel.
It's a direct sequel.
Know.
Like, okay, it's an old-fashioned sequel.
Yes,
because it used to be back in the good old days when movies could be movies.
You don't want to see the extended Knives Out universe with Ana de Armas sipping coffee the whole time?
No. Sequels were just another movie with the same people. They weren't continuing any sort of story. Like Terminator 2 does not really continue anything from Terminator 1. Batman Returns does not continue anything
Terminator
from
2
Batman.
does. Terminator 2 does, though.
Okay, besides John Connor being a kid.
Oh, I see. You're saying that the
fetus.
like the Stopping Judgment Day. Nah, I don't know. I feel like Terminator 2 is a bad example, but yes, Batman Returns is a perfect example. Yeah. Or
Anyway.
Conan the Destroyer.
Yeah, or I don't know, Highlander 2, 3 and 4. Jaws 2.
Jaws.
Hell, even
The Lost
even
World.
The Empire Strikes Back feels like a completely separate movie from Star Wars.
Okay. Oh, okay. I see. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Or
Like,
all the Indiana Jones movies. None of them are connected in any way.
Yes, which is funny because it's based off of serials, which are all about that connection.
Which are a type of grain.
Is cereal the type of grain? I thought cereal was just the post process of the grain.
Cereal grains are also a thing, which is what breakfast cereal is made of.
Hence why it's called cereal.
Yeah.
Gabe, when did you find that out? How long have you known about this?
Like, I don't know, 15 years.
Oh my god. I feel like my whole world has just changed. I guess you're right. It's more of a conventional like, oh, this is a sequel in terms of like that's why I call it a sidequel, because it's like same characters, different movie. I would have been even more happy if they didn't put a Knives Out story at the end. Just call it Glass Onion. Like
No, yeah, I mean the current meta of expanded universe, everything's a continuing story bullshit. that just drags on forever and is basically like a bloated shit manga like One Piece. That's a recent phenomenon.
Right.
Glass Onion's an old-fashioned sequel. It's just same characters, different movie.
Yeah. Somewhat similar. Well, not same. Same character.
Same protagonist, different movie.
Yeah. Even similar themes, although this time it's like taking down new money, which I like.
Yeah, that's true. Taking down old money versus taking down new money. That's
yep.
a good point.
Structurally, you have the secondary, who you would think would be a secondary character as the actual protagonist.
Yep.
Or I guess you'd say secondary protagonist. That's who the story is about.
You have the backtracking.
The backtracking, yeah. Although, yeah, you have the backtracking. Although in this case, done kind of differently. You have the food metaphor.
Yep.
And then, although in Knives Out, it's funny because like the murder mystery that we're all obsessed with was actually a suicide. And in this movie, the suicide that we're kind of obsessed with was actually a murder. That was a fun inversion of an inversion. I just think I like the way that Knives Out started better, where it was like you're not quite sure what's going on, but we're introduced to all of the characters really quickly, and then we're introduced to Benoit Blanc really quickly. And then in Glass Onion, it just felt like it took forever for the actual like plot of the movie to start, which is my one knock against it, is that it kind of took a little while for the movie to pick up the momentum it needed.
Yeah, I mean, the opening is long and is just a series of punchlines. It's not really creating any narrative momentum. So yeah, I understand that. I mean, it's fun enough that it's not too big of an issue, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, but it gives into the idea of like the opulent excess of like these tech billionaires and stuff, and like the movie's all about excess, so it makes sense that the opening scene is excessive.
Don't you pull a Wolf of Wall Street on me, Matthew.
Plus, it's a good way of getting to know all the characters, so that like as soon as the movie starts, they don't have to spend time developing why they have a relationship, how they have a relationship, even though they end up spending time doing that anyway in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's fun to see Edward Norton back as like a villain type.
Yep.
It's like watching Rounders all over again. You're supposed to like him, and then you're supposed to hate him, and then you're supposed to like him. And then at the very end, when Benoit Blanc realizes, he's like, "The fuck, you motherfucker, you stole my idea." It's like, oh, it was like the end of Good Will Hunting. Son of a bitch.
How do you like them apples?
Son of a bitch, he stole my line. Music was fine. Music was good. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of if there's anything else or any other references I wanted to say. I also like how. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's also funny that like, you know, the whole Glass Onion thing. It's like the answer is in plain sight the whole time. I like how in the dining room where a large section of the movie takes place, there's just this huge painting of Edward Norton.
Yeah.
In the middle of it, that like everyone is constantly. It's behind everyone all the time. So it's like, who could have done this? It's just this huge painting of Edward Norton.
Yeah, this movie is both not very subtle and also incredibly subtle. If you want to solve the crime, if you want to find the solution, it's incredibly subtle. But by the time they get around to it, if they're like, if you haven't solved this yet, get ready because we're blowing out the big guns. So, yeah, I like that part of it. Yeah, I don't know. I guess, go out and see it. Oh, I will say one joke.
You can't, though.
Oh, yeah. I will say one last thing. One joke that I really, I felt really bad about really liking was, you made your sweatpants in a sweatshop.
Oh, that was so funny.
Did you think that sweatpants had to be made in a
It's don't tell me you thought a sweatshop is a place where they make sweatpants.
Oh my god, they even have a Three's Company moment when, like, after Duke dies, the whiskey goes to see Janelle Monáe, and it's like, yeah, you were too good for it, and like whiskey thinks that Janelle Monáe killed Duke, and Janelle Monáe is just like, I'm glad you left him because you deserve better. Like, I thought that was funny, like a fun little Three's Company moment that ended up leading to like really bad things happening.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. It was good. I will say the last section of it when she's destroying everything felt a little bit long too. So that's the only other place that I would have been like, all right, this feels
So
a little...
the ending matches the beginning and their gratuity.
And in the at least no one made any jokes about Glass Onion being a real stinker. You know, because onions smell
Glass
bad.
doesn't have a smell.
You know what, Gabe? You know what? That's not the point. All right, the point. Movie reviewers not necessarily the best at coming up with titles. Okay, that's why they all reuse the same jokes, like the one I just did. Cool. So, anything else to say about Glass Onion?
I can't think of anything. I mean, it's one of those movies that's chock full of stuff, but it's almost too much stuff where you forget most of it because there's so much other stuff you're trying to remember.
Yeah, that's the nice part of it being on Netflix. Like, if you want to go back and rewatch it, you can when it's finally released in a month. I know Rian Johnson's getting another push to try and get it re-released into theaters, which I was gonna say, like, if that does happen, I recommend it because it is kind of like a fun movie to see in theaters.
It is, yeah.
Because it's so big and bombastic and ridiculous.
It definitely, like, I can definitely imagine it being way less fun at home. Just because, yeah, you lose that bombast.
Especially the end.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially at the end.
But yeah, I mean, I very much recommend it. It's very funny, very silly. It's just a good time.
And sometimes that's all you need in a movie.
I mean, it is like full of, hashtag social commentary. But it's all like done in a very silly way, which I think makes it go down much easier than Knives Out or, God forbid, The Last Jedi.
I thought you were going to say, like... because that was the other thing is, like, I've watched a lot of the Kenneth Branagh Hercule Poirot movies, and like you can watch.
Aren't there only two of them?
There are two, yeah.
I've watched a lot of the two of them.
I've watched a lot of the two. Well, so if you watch the Sidney Lumet Murder on the Orient Express, and then you watch the Kenneth Branagh one, and then you watch Knives Out. Like, it's very clear where Rian Johnson is hoping these, like, whodunit movies go. He's much more interested in sort of, like, the, lighthearted with maybe a message than he is with the sort of, like, we're going to make this super dramatic all the time. Play that music. Patrick Doyle, make us cry kind of thing. So it's fun that there's someone out there who's just like, I want to make an entertaining movie to make an entertaining movie. Guys. All right. Well, if they want to argue with us, where can they go?
You can argue with us at video at underthewheels.com. Man, it's been a long time since I've said that.
I know. I'm sorry.
Video at underthewheels.com. You can also find us on YouTube or Apple Podcasts. Leave a like, review, subscribe, all that shit. Comment and we'll, I don't know. I mean, if it's a good comment, we'll be like, oh, nice. And if it's a bad comment, we'll be like, oh, not nice. But I don't know if we'll actually interact with it. I can't promise you anything. Okay, I'm sorry. We're also on Facebook.
We are also on Facebook, yeah. And music is by Mike.
Yes.
Thanks again, Mike. God, it's.
He was also on that hell website, Twitch.
He is, but he's a good thing about Twitch, not a bad thing. We're contractually obliged to say that.
Yeah, we need to get some hoes on his channel, boost his views.
I mean, Mike could just wear a bikini and play video games. I think that'd be pretty fun, actually. That's, to be completely honest. Like, I think he should do that. What the heck? I'm looking at our YouTube channel now, and there's an issue with the Coda video.
What?
Did that not go up? What? Oh, you know why? It's the wrong video. That's why. It's the wrong channel. Anyway, because there's you remember the old?
We have the old channel and the new channel, yeah.
Yeah. So it was on the. Oh, okay, good. All right, there we go.
There are some, I think, missing from the new channel.
There are. I have 3,000 Years of Longing as the last one. I need to put up one.
No, I mean like some backlog episodes that are missing from the new channel.
Really?
Yeah, like I think if you go through all of the videos, the numbers don't add up. The numbers, Mason. What do they mean? Dude, he's coming back. Sam Worthington is coming back.
Oh my gosh. I know. I'm the only person aside from James Cameron on the planet who is actually excited about Avatar 2.
I'm not excited about Avatar 2. I am excited for Sam Worthington because, man, they pushed him so hard to make him like the next big action star, and it did not go well. So I really maybe second time's the charm.
I think he's doing this more as like, you know how like Orlando Bloom just does like direct to DVD movies now. This is like his Legolas in it's his Pirates 5 and his Legolas.
That's
from
probably true.
The Hobbit
Unfortunately,
movies. Sam Worthington's kind of carved a niche out on sort of like the Christian and direct to DVD movies circuit. So
God, that's sad.
Because he did that movie The Shack, right? And all those Australians are obsessed with Catholicism. They all are like,
they're all tradcath weirdos.
Oh, Jesus is our. I can't do a Sam Worthington, but it's funny because he played a Greek god. Yeah, I would love a good sequel to Wrath of the Titans. Not that there could be one, but
not that it's possible.
Yeah,
but I would like it.
It'd bring Ralph Fiennes back for Hades one more go. Oh, Perseus, I do have a little bit more magic in me. God, Wrath of the Titans is like one of my most disappointing movies of all time. Like, all of the pieces were there to be awesome. Like, not awesome as in like, like, oh, this movie is going to be this great masterpiece. Awesome as in like, yes, this movie is stupid, but it's also pretty fun.
I don't understand how you could have any expectations to be disappointed by.
I think it's more of like you have a script that has all of the pieces that you need, and then the execution of it is just bafflingly awful. Like, there's no way it was going to be like some sort of cinematic masterpiece. But, they fixed Perseus. Instead of him being like, I need to do this as a man, he's like, oh, I don't think I could succeed as, like, I don't think I'm worthy to be a god. So already you have, like, a rootable thing. Like, hey, we all have insecurity, and he's insecure, but he has all of these awesome powers. Like, okay, all right, that's rootable. Like, I can do that. And then there was the sun angle, which was kind of whatever, take it or leave it. And then, like, you have, like, Ares as the bad guy, and Ares is, like, super powered, and you're like, okay, dude, like, this shit's gonna get real. And then you have a battle between Perseus, who's got, like, 2 god weapons, and Ares, who, like, is a god, and it's like, all right, this could be an awesome fight, and it wasn't. It just wasn't good. And then, like, at the end of the movie, Zeus and Hades are like, come on, brother, let's show him what a god really can do. And you're like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. And it was like, Zeus like shot off the like tiniest thunderbolts from it, or lightning bolts from his fingers. He's like, finger guns, and it's like, oh my god, what are you even doing? There's a reason Jonathan Liebsman hasn't really done anything since then.
You have a lot more feelings about Wrath of the Titans than I ever could.
I know. I think about it too. Like, I still own my copy of it. Every time I go to get rid of it, I'm like, I need to
suffer one more time.
It needs to go. That was before. You remember Troy Kebbell? I think that's his name. He played as King Kong, and or he played as the bad guy, the bad monkey in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't know this guy? Okay, he's like an Australian actor that they tried to make a thing for a while. He plays as anyway. He's in it. He's not very good in it though. His career was also one of those that they were like, we're going to make this work. You're going to be cast as the main orc in Warcraft. It's like, oh, God.
Oh, yeah, I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. There's him, Sam Worthington. James Cameron was really simping for him hard, and that didn't happen. Not that Sam Worthington's like a great actor, but like I feel like he deserved better.
Oh, well.
Sigourney Weaver's back. Stephen Lang's back.
Wait, he's dead. Right?
Oh no, he's back. He's in Avatar 2, man.
How? Didn't
That's
he
why
die
you got to
in the
go.
first one?
He did. He got the first Avatar movie, yes, textbook movie. But man, when Zoe Saldana comes and shoots an arrow right through Stephen Lang's chest, you're like, dude, there goes one badass villain. Like, don't forget, there was a part in the movie you can only survive 41 seconds in the Pandoran atmosphere before you die. And he's out there holding his breath, shooting at people for like a minute and a half because he's Quaritch and he's fucking awesome. So, yeah, 3 hours, baby. Get ready. Are we gonna under the wheels it? Do you think?
Yeah, we will.
We're gonna have. We're gonna have to. That was before the podcast revolution too. 3D movies have come and gone in the time it's taken this motherfucker to make this movie.
It's crazy, yeah.
Careers have been started and fallen. Sigourney Weaver had a career resurgence in that time. People forgot about Giovanni Ribisi in that time as well. All right, well, on that note, I'm Matthew.
And I'm Gabe.
And you have just been under the wheels.
Why would I pay money for a fucking Marvel movie?
That's right. Your money is precious. You have to spend it on a fucking out-of-date copy of Possession.
I guarantee you Possession is a million times better than any Marvel bullshit.
Probably. Oh, I just find Letitia Wright completely uninteresting. And she's the main character. I've been wrong before, though. So the menu... what else is coming out that you're interested in watching?
The Whale. Babylon.
You watch Babylon we should do. The Whale you can see on your own. I don't want to see that.
Why? It's Darren Aronofsky. He always makes interesting stuff. And it's got Brendan Fraser.
I want to see it for Brendan Fraser. I don't want to see it. I don't want to sit there and watch 600-pound Brendan Fraser masturbate into a cup.
Honestly, I'd see that.
I know you would. I know. You see it and let me know how it is. You can talk about it on the podcast. I was like looking at it and I was like, I don't think I self-hate myself enough to go and see it. From what
I don't even know what it's about. I just know fat Brendan Fraser, Darren Aronofsky. Based on those two details alone, I'm like, I want to see this movie.
I need to write down. What I should do is I should write down the one thing that I think could get you uninterested in watching it, send it to you, but have it really far down the email so that you don't look at it. And then after you see it, then you can look at the email and like be like, Matt was right or Matt was wrong. I don't know. Should I do that? Or should I just tell you the thing?
I don't know.
I'll let you go in blind. I'd rather you just
go in blind. Yeah.
Go in blind. Just like Triangle of Sadness, which I didn't see, and I guess you didn't either because it was out of theaters by the time.
Yep.
To be fair, Fableman's is probably going to be out of theaters soon too. Very soon because no one's seeing it. It was good. It was good. Good performances. They're all going to win. I wonder if it's going to like sweep the Academy. They're going to be like, oh, this is Steven Spielberg's swan song. Like this is
about the magic
brand.
of movies, guys. That's my impression of the Motion Picture Academy.
No, I think like the biggest sin, I heard Empire of Light, the new Sam Mendes movie, is like everything that people hate about it's about movies, guys, movies. Like it's
really?
Like,
I would have thought that would have been the Fabelmans.
No, because the Fabelmans like it's more of like a Steven Spielberg, like you said, it's a Steven Spielberg memoir, but it doesn't it idolizes the process of making movies in a way that only he can. But it's very much more about the dynamic between his family. And Paul Dano's really good in it. Michelle Williams is good, but she's also kind of like she's a little bit more of a cartoon character. But it's much more of like a coming of age story than it is about like, isn't Hollywood amazing until the very end. At the very end, it gets a little like, you know, but that's where David Lynch comes in. So, you know, I'll be honest. I'm actually just really curious to see what you and Austin think about the David Lynch cameo.
I don't think either of us are gonna watch The Fabelmans. Is the problem?
No. Just when they finally have the clip on YouTube, go and watch it. You don't need any other context than that.
Okay.
Also because it happens at the very end of the movie. So you'd be sitting through 2.5 hours of Steven Spielberg trying to explore his complex feelings about his parents. And then at the end, like, this scene comes, so yeah.
Finished.